Hello, Husker fans. Welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel, and as well as everybody joining us on the Big Red Banter Facebook page and the Husker Big Red YouTube or Facebook page. So, good morning, everybody, on this Saturday morning, one day after a huge win for Nebraska basketball on Friday night. It was a magical night at the Vault. We all expected it to be. The crowd was incredible, and a great performance for the Huskers. So we're going to get into that. We'll talk about the Las Vegas Bowl, if anybody wants to, I guess, the transfer portal, really anything that's kind of on your mind as a Nebraska fan. But yeah, the transfer portal, Nebraska basketball are the two things that are kind of percolating in my mind. And yeah, 14-0, man. Another win, another top 10 win. Rank Mass was truly, incredible last night. But what a great night to be a Nebraska fan for. And we haven't had many nights like that in the basketball court. So I don't know. This it's been a really special season, and I wrote at huskerbigred.com, the dream season continues. That was my opening lead last night. So yeah, great win. And joining me as always, Danny Gillette. So how are you this morning, Danny?
Good. We can forget about the Las Vegas Bowl. We don't really need to talk about that. I'm more excited about the transfer portal and the basketball team, to be honest. So, yeah, no, it's amazing. You absolutely hate this program on Wednesday, but then you fall in love with the basketball team on Friday night. So there you go. I mean, and wow, what a game Friday was! It really was such a fun game, a great atmosphere for being on. Winter break. The vault was rocking and the students were there, and I'll tell you, this team is special. I liked the 2020 2023 2024 team, I believe it was, but I think this one is much better.
Yeah, this one shaping up to be, yeah, maybe the best Nebraska basketball team ever. Thanks for the comment, James, and everybody else who's going to be in the chat. A belated happy holidays to everybody. Go Big
Yeah.
Red. Go Big Red as always, James. Thanks for hopping in the chat again. Yes, I mean it was for as downer as it was kind of the football team, earlier this week in the Las Vegas Bowl, kind of like we mentioned, and even the women's team lost to Iowa on Thursday, so the whole week
Mm.
was kind of resting on the men's basketball team, and they delivered, and it was. There was some worrisome moments. I mean, it was they had that weird technical foul on Brendan Frager, and then that kind of Michigan State kind of had a spark after that. They got up by 3 points with a few minutes left, and you're kind of sitting there like, I don't know. And then they tie it back up again. They get the turnover. Rink Mast tells Fred Hoiberg to challenge it. They win the challenge, and then great call by Fred Hoiberg. They get the little pick and pop, and Rink Mast drills one of the biggest shots I've ever seen a Nebraska basketball player make. I mean, I'm trying to rack my brain. It's been a long time since this program's been really good. So yeah, that's one of the biggest shots I've seen a Nebraska basketball player make. And then for them to hold Michigan State without a bucket for the last 2 minutes, it was pretty special. And that the defense won the game. I mean, it was 33-33 at halftime, so they held the Spartans to 23 points in the second half. I mean,
Yeah.
they held them without a bucket for 7 minutes. They forced 19 turnovers, and Sam Hoiberg doesn't get enough credit. But man, I mean, he scored 4 points. He had 0 turnovers. Michigan State had 19 turnovers in that game. Sam Hoiberg only scored 4 points, 0 turnovers. His defense was incredible. He's there tapping the ball away, to get an offensive rebound. He's the guy who got a hand on the ball in the final seconds because if he doesn't do that, if that ball goes out of bounds, Michigan State gets to take it out underneath our basket on the other end of the floor. So that was another really heads up play that kind of won the game. And that's what Sam Hoiberg does. He just does a million little things that to the opposing team are super annoying and that find a way to beat you. And at the end of the day, he's made like 25 plays. And so yeah, it's just a really fun team to watch. It's a fun team to cheer for. And this defense, man, like there's a reason. That's the reason this team has a chance to do more than just win a game in the NCAA tournament. I know that's the goal, and that's that's like the first thing to cross off the list. But man, this team, that they have the ability to do some special things come March.
They do, and it's amazing how well they all play together for a collection of transfer portal additions. Yes, they've had several games together by now, and we're kind of at the midpoint of the season. But it's amazing just how Fred is able to identify the talent, kind of work with the talent, and get everybody to play under one scheme so cohesively. And it's really been fantastic this season. I mean, the level that Jamarcus Lawrence has played at, he was good while he was here the first time, but he's just taken it to another level. Price Sanford has been absolutely fantastic. You have Berkey kind of finding his role as a scrappy rebounder, and I felt like he didn't find his role last season. Now he has, and he's playing it very well. You just have so many players just filling in certain spots on this team, and it's creating one, kind of unstoppable force.
Yeah, and it's the rotation pretty tight already. 8 guys played last night. Jared Garcia played 9 off the bench. Cale Jacobson had 17 minutes. Frager 30 minutes. Hit 3 threes, 9 points up the. So he made some big plays. We have Price Sanford, 3 threes. Rink made 6. Jamarcus Lawrence came up with 12 points. Another thing about Rink, he had 3 blocks last night. It's like, all of his field goals were 3-pointers, which is kind of incredible. So, I mean, it wasn't even one of his best offensive nights, I would say. He did shoot well from 3. But yeah, just all the little things. 3 assists. Sam Hoiberg, 4 points, 5 assists, 0 turnovers. The way they played defense was so impressive to me. I mean, I guess Michigan State had 17 turnovers. I thought they said on the broadcast it was 19, but this box score has them for 17. But still,
they did on the broadcast say it was 19, so you're not crazy.
34% from the field, and the most impressive thing, and I didn't even think I talked about this last night, is there was so much in my takeaways that I kind of got away from it. But Michigan State, looking at this box score, they were 7 of 22 inside the arc. I mean, that's impressive. That's under 30%. I mean, just doing my basic math, 7 divided by 22, that's 31%. So I mean, if you hold the 9th ranked team in the country to 31% on 2-point attempts, that's damn good defense. So yeah, I mean, they made 13 threes, and they kind of live and die by the 3, and that's what this Fred Hoiberg team is. But it's like they're doing all those things, and then they're playing incredible defense. I haven't seen a Nebraska team that plays defense like this. Really, not that I can ever remember.
And the interesting thing is we don't necessarily have the big men that Michigan State does. I mean, the Michigan State big men were fantastic, I thought, especially defensively inside. And so the way we were able to kind of compensate for that and then neutralize those big men was very impressive to me.
So James said this is a better team than the team that won the NIT, which I want to say that was back in 96 or
yeah, it was. Let's see, 1.
That was a really good team. So, but yeah, I would say this team is right there, and they had the 90. I want to say the 94 team. When they had Eric Piatkowski, they won the Big 8 championship. They went into the NCAA tournament as a pretty high seed and then got beat by Penn. Those bastards. They made me cry back in when I was like 8 years old. Anyway, so I mean, to me, that's probably the best Nebraska basketball team because they won a conference championship. The Big 8 tournament championship. Nebraska won the crown last year, but outside of that, in the NIT, there hasn't been very many actual championships, and so I would say that's still the most significant win is that conference tournament championship from 1994. But this team, if they can get to the NCAA tournament and win a game, I think that would cement their legacy as the best team.
You're not going to have to get me hyped up for the crown this year, Chris. I have a good feeling. I have a really good feeling you're not going to have to do that tough job. But I can't pronounce his name. But even not last night, but last game, Oogie Boogie, like the guy from Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie Boogie played well. So everybody's kind of firing on all cylinders. And you didn't really need to have him in the game too much last night because the 8-man rotation that we had was very solid. So you don't want to. It's kind of like Emmett Johnson in the running back rotation during the season. You don't necessarily want to take the hot hand out if they're playing well. So I thought that the in-game coaching was really great. And, there was a point in 2022, I think it was February 2022, where I said that I wanted Fred fired. But, credit to Trev Alberts. He didn't, and he stuck with them, and I hate that dude, but he made the right decision there, and I got to give credit where it's due.
Yeah, and I think he's got 7 or 8 top 25 wins since that season. I remember they were really struggling, and we thought, man, this is really going to be. And then they turned it around. They ended up going 16-16 that year. That was the year that K-State kind of first started bursting onto the scene. And yeah, since then, they made the tournament the year after that. Were close last year. They had a lot of really close losses last year. So yeah, it's just interesting how you lose Keisei Tominaga, and the program still kind of moves forward. You lose Bryce Williams, and the program is still moving forward, and that's truly a credit to Fred Hoiberg and the way that, like you said, he's built this team and just finding guys, in different roles, and like you really have to respect, like when they brought in Berke, I didn't, Buya however, I can't pronounce the last name. But I mean, just the way that he didn't really seem to me as like a guy that was going to be, a bruising type guy. Like, he was one.
No,
I
not
thought
at
he was
all.
going to be a shooter type, and now
Yeah.
he didn't score any points last night, but he really
No.
was critical with his defense. His rim protection, got 5 rebounds, and so it's like he's kind of your tough big. And you got Mast in there, Price Sanford. Like, I just love that kid. I mean, he shoots threes, but he has so many. He's like a taller version of Sam Hoiberg.
He's got one more year, right? This is junior.
Yeah, he's got one more
Right.
year. He just does everything right. And he was out half the game with foul trouble. And that last foul call on him was absolutely horrendous.
BS.
That would have been, I would have been so pissed off if that game would have went to overtime on that little hand check. It's like, but anyway, the ball don't lie. Everything worked out the way that it was supposed to. But yeah, it's a fun season, and I do think it is worth, with the whole Matt Rule thing, it is worth pointing to Fred Hoiberg, and a lot of people did want him fired, and Trev Alberts had the foresight to give him that time, and knew he was the right coach, because a lot of people said the same things. They're like, oh man, it's year 4 or whatever for Fred Hoiberg, and it was bad at times. I mean, it looked really bad. It was. And like, it totally looked like a mistake. And then it got to that point, I was like, man, if Fred Hoiberg can't win here, who can? And then all of a sudden it started. Fred didn't forget how to coach. He had to, like, he really did. I mean, with a lot of the things that Matt Rule says about the football program, I feel like that was even more true about the basketball team, because it's like, not only do they don't give you hardly any resources. Like, Fred Hoiberg does not get the same resources that Matt Rule does. It's not a 1-to-1 compare. It's like he gets basically, the scraps. Here's the leftover NIL. Here's like $2 million to build your roster, and here he is, top 10 team. That's incredible coaching right there. And I've said it for a long time, but there's not very many. You look at the Big Ten, like, there's not very many coaches I would trade Fred Hoiberg for. Maybe Dusty May, maybe Tom Izzo, maybe the guy at Purdue, I'm blank, Matt Painter. But outside of that, who in the Big Ten's a better coach? Maybe Brad Underwood, but Fred Hoiberg is in that conversation. And yeah, just incredible job by him. And he's brought the magic back to Nebraska basketball. So 3 of the next 4 games are going to be on the road. So I don't know how long this undefeated season is going to last, but I never expected Nebraska to win 18 in a row. We've won 18 games in a row. I mean, that's pretty incredible.
And in past years, we've had a great start to the season, like last year, and then kind of tapered off once the second half of the season began. And I don't see that this year. So, I mean, that's positive as well. And you look at this resume for the tournament, not that there's any doubt that they're going to make it, but they have 2 quad 1 wins right now, including last night, would you say? Or maybe?
Yeah, at least two, because Michigan State and Illinois will both be quad 1 wins. Some of the other ones are kind of close, like Creighton and Oklahoma. But I mean, they've got some really nice wins on this resume. So yeah, really, really solid. And you look at their 3-0 now in the Big Ten. So it's like, man, if you get another, if you just win 11, 12 games, you're definitely going to be in the tournament. But the way they're looking at it right now, they could, push for like a top 4 seed in the conference and overall. I mean, right now they are seeded, like, I think they've been projected as a number 4 seed. So right now they are a top 16 team in the overall NCAA tournament seeding.
And that's where I want to be. I don't want to be like an 8-9 matchup like we were 2 years ago at Texas A&M, because that's where I think things get murky. I'd rather have a 4-13 or, a gap in the seeding if I was Nebraska, because I feel like that favors them a little bit more. Because those kind of 8-9 seeds, you kind of get the more even teams, and sometimes even the more athletic teams like Texas A&M. I feel like the higher we are and the larger the seeding gap is, the better matchup it is for us, which is kind of like a, no shit, Danny. Like, yeah, we all know that, but it was really evident 2 years ago that the 8 and 9 seeds were very, very close to each other in terms of talent.
Yeah, and one thing that too is if you are a top 4 seed, then you do usually get to play closer to home. I don't know where exactly they are this year, but maybe you get a place that's pretty close to Nebraska, and then you could bring in a truckload of fans. And not that Nebraska doesn't travel. I mean,
I was going to say they're going to bring in a truckload of fans regardless. But yeah,
we had a lot more fans than Texas A&M, I think, at that other matchup 2 years ago. But anyway, yeah, just a truly magical night for Nebraska basketball, and it's great to see that program trending forward, and it does give me hope that the football program, will be able to figure it out in the future too.
I think it will. I really do think it will, and I know nobody wants to hear it and whatever, but I really do think it will. And I think it starts for the football program. It starts this weekend, and boy, they have a lot of visitors lined up. They really do.
We'll switch to football here in a sec, but yeah, Fred Hoiberg should be coach of the year. There's no question. I know that Michigan's doing incredible things. Dusty May's doing a great job. So I mean, it's not going to be easy, but I mean that team won the Big Ten tournament last year, so it's not like they went, and Nebraska going from the crown to, I mean they were what 16th in the Big Ten last year. They didn't make the top. Yeah. So I mean, the fact that they're 14-0. Yeah, Fred Hoiberg should be coach of the year. And you know what? Rink Mast should be first team all Big Ten. So he's one of the – look me in the face and tell me there's 5 players in this league more impactful than Rink Mast. I don't think you'll find them. I just, I know there's guys that look better, and he might not be slam dunk NBA, first-round pick, but there's not 5 players in the Big Ten that are better than Rink Mast. I don't care.
I feel like he'll be able to find a role on an NBA team. I feel like he's one of the guys, and I think Rink Mast is first team, and then – Price is going to be second team or something, I would imagine, right? You think?
I would think. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be tough because like Michigan's got 3 really good ones in Lendenborg and Morez Johnson. I think those are going to be at least 2, and then probably A.J. Mayer, their center, is probably going to be second. So they're probably going to have 3 in the top 10. Yeah, but I mean, Price Stanford's played so well. I mean, if Nebraska keeps winning the way they have, and then frankly, I don't know how Sam Hoiberg doesn't make like at least some like honorable mention, or he better at least be on the freaking all Big Ten defensive team. Or I was
going to say, is there an all defensive team in college? And there is, yeah. I'm
going to blow my gasket if Sam Hoiberg, Sam Hoiberg is not on the all defensive team, because like, dude, there's not the way he plays defense. Like it's incredible. I mean, like his on ball defense, and it's just so interesting that, we spent all these years searching for a point guard, and now we've got 2 because we've got Hoiberg and Lawrence who are kind of like interchanged. Like they're kind of both playing that role. But man, Sam is just, it's like his growth and development. Like that's been one of the best parts of this program. And it's incredible. Like, I mean, when he first started playing, I'm like, man, why is this guy even playing? You're like, why is, this Hoiberg kid is like 6'0". He literally is like Rudy. He's 6'0", 100 and nothing. He doesn't look like he should even be out there. And there he's just making play after play after play after play. And so, yeah, I can't say enough about Sam Hoiberg.
I'm very impressed with the development of Jamarcus Lawrence too, and the way he's come back and kind of refined his game. I've been really impressed with how he's come back, and it's very impressive, and Hoiberg is more than just the coach's son and the spoiled kid just getting a shot because he's on his dad's team. He's a hell of a player.
Okay, so let's see. We've got Kent Miller wants to talk some football, so we'll switch over to some Nebraska transfer portal talk here. Of course, if you guys still want to talk basketball or whatever, feel free to throw your questions up in the comments in the chat. Thanks for the comment, Kent Miller from Facebook. Look at the age of the players. Indiana 22, Nebraska 19, 3 years average age difference. How good were Nash and Ty as freshmen or even sophomores? Back this team up a little bit. Do your job before you criticize Rule.
Oh yeah, no, I am still with Matt Rule. I always thought that wanting him fired or whatever like tomorrow was stupid, and I've been arguing with the fans all these past, quite frankly, 48 hours about this, and I am still definitely on his side. I still think he can, get this thing rolling here, and it's like we didn't even make a bowl game for 15 years, and now we've been to 2. And I know nobody wants to hear this either, but I don't think Utah was a very good matchup for the Las Vegas Bowl with Nebraska. So, I mean, I am still on board with Matt Rule. I am.
It was 2016. So we went 8 years without going to a bowl game, just to clarify. Yeah, I mean, there's some truth. I mean, yeah, I think what you're saying is true. I mean, the age thing, but that's also kind of how you build your roster too. I mean, isn't it? Like you have a choice of who you bring on your team. Like Matt Rule decided to take a bunch of young players. So, I mean, Kurt Signetti decided to get a bunch of veterans from the portal. So I mean, I don't really think that that's just kind of roster building philosophy. So, I mean, I'm not really sure what the point of that is, because, like, if you wanted to go get more players, go get older. Like, you could have built your team the same way Indiana did. So, I mean, I understand your point. I'm not saying that Matt Rule should be fired or anything, but I mean, looking back to the Las Vegas Bowl, like, I don't know. To me, it was a little discouraging, just because, you've got a Utah team that, doesn't have their head coach. I mean, I know they had their new head coach, but you have, it just was, I mean, a team that's not even in the playoff from the Big 12, and you can't even stay on the field with them. I mean, Nebraska had 6 straight 3-and-outs at one point. I mean, that's just not competitive. So, like, I get what you're saying, but
they're the 15th ranked team in the country.
I know, but they're not even a playoff team. Like, they're not even
There's a lot of good teams that are pretty good that are not a playoff team. Look at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but what I'm saying is, like, this isn't even like, this isn't even like Ohio State or somebody. Like, this is Utah, and they whooped up on you, like, they were like the 2002 Miami Hurricanes. You know what I mean? Like, their quarterback had, the best day. I mean, he had 400 and how many yards? I mean, there was just no stopping him. And so I don't know. There was a lot of, like, the lack of, where are the athletes on this team? I mean, I know that was kind of a comment going around that Steve Sipple mentioned, and it wasn't a referee. It was somebody that was just hanging out, a bowl official who was in the media room, but they were a Nebraska fan, and they remarked on the lack of athleticism. And we can't even look like we have the same amount of athletes as Utah. I mean, they're not, like, Utah's not a team that's, like, they've got solid players. They get blue chip players, but, like, they've had top 25 class, I think, in the last 4 years. And, like, we don't even look like we belong in the same field as them. Like, I don't know. I did think that was a problem. So I don't know. Like, I do want Matt Rule to succeed. Like, I don't think he's not going to get fired for like 2 or 3 more years. So he'll have the full runway to do what he wants to do. But I am getting to that point where I'm like, it's hard to see how it's going to work out, because next year's going to be really tough. Next year's going to be really difficult. And, we're going to have an unproven guy at quarterback. That's just the reality of it, because Kenny Minchey's going to be the starting quarterback. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's nobody else coming that's going to be competing for this job. It's going to be him, because TJ Lateef is nowhere near ready. Like, if TJ Lateef is the starting quarterback next year, like, this team ain't going to a bowl game. Like, he is just not even close to being ready. And so,
I think we had one more.
Yeah, we had one more, but it's not going to be somebody who's like.
No, I'm just saying in general. I'm just thinking, like, what we're going to still do in the transfer portal.
I think they'll add another quarterback that'll be, somebody who's not going to start, who's not going to come in and win the job. I mean, like, maybe if it's a surprise type of thing, like, or maybe they get like an FCS quarterback, somebody like that. I'm not really sure, but because you have to think about it from the player's perspective too. Like, Kenny Minchey is not going somewhere where he's not going to be the starter. He's got 2 years left to play, and Nebraska's going to have to pay this dude like multiple millions of dollars. So, like, it's just, he's not going to go somewhere.
I don't think Minchey's going to cost that much, but I do think.
I think he is. I mean, he's the top 10. He's the 9th ranked quarterback. Sorsby's costing $5 million. Like, I think Minchey's at least $1 or $2 million. Like, I think it's at least 7 figures.
I'd be interested to see the actual evaluations of players in the portal. I don't know, because you're right. He is a quarterback, and quarterbacks in the portal tend to cost a little bit more. I don't know if it's maybe necessarily $1 million, but we'll see. And we don't know how big the budget is either. So,
I mean, I definitely think he's on the more affordable, side. Yeah. He's not Brennan Sorsby, who's the going rate's $5 million for that guy. Did you watch him week 1?
Yeah.
I mean, that quarterback who threw for under 100 yards in week 1's getting a $5 million. That's great. But that's what I'm always talking about with the portal. Like, Sorsby's good. Like, he's a good quarterback, but like, there's a reason he's been in the portal 2 times now, right? Like,
yeah.
And so, I mean, if he was that great at Indiana, Indiana would have never let him go. So it's like that. I even had my doubts about him. Like, even if you got him to come in here, like, I don't know that you win more than 6 games next year. And that's the best quarterback right now in the portal, in air quotes, because I don't know if he's the best quarterback in the portal, but I'd take Sam Levitt over him. That's me personally.
Yeah, me too, actually. And
he's got a no contact tag, so he knows where he's going, which, Yeah, it's really interesting, and I like Kenny Minchie. I know a lot of fans are, like, oh, this guy has no starting experience, and he has less. I saw a comment like he has less starting experience than TJ Lateef, and it's like, well, I mean, yeah, I get that, but you have to look a little bit beyond that. I mean, you look at him as a recruit. He was, the 14th ranked quarterback in his class. He was 170th overall, which I know that doesn't mean anything per se, but he really
Elite
did
11
go.
finalist, and I was told that doesn't mean anything either. But it definitely means you don't have rocks for brains and you have talent, in my opinion. I mean,
Yeah.
it does mean something.
So I mean, he's got the pedigree, and he was really close this year with CJ Carr in that quarterback battle. So, um, like, I think it makes a lot of sense for Nebraska, because you look at some of these other quarterbacks and the ones that are going to make a difference. Like, Nebraska just can't afford them, really. I mean, it's what Sam Levitt, it's Sorsby. Obviously Raiola's not a guy for us. The Josh Hoover kid from TCU, he's going to Indiana. Rocco Beck's going to Penn State. So, like, all the guys that you want are spoken for. So I mean, it's like, you go get this kid, or I mean, Aiden Childs. Like, I don't think that I would take Minchie over him. I just,
I would too.
he's got a lot of talent, but he's also, developed a lot of bad habits. And so, do you want to spend this offseason trying to coach him out of all these bad habits and turnover plays? And, that's risky. And yeah, if Minchie didn't work out, like, that's a solid, second option. But I just think, he can run, he can do a lot of things. And then, I think he's maybe not a big enough name that TJ will stick around. And have some. I don't think TJ is going to win the job, but he can at least compete for it. And the thing is like, you probably are going to need both quarterbacks at some point, because if you run your quarterback, there's a good chance he's going to miss some time at some point. And so, I think that's the best case scenario. Get TJ, get Minchie, and then try to, like a guy like Alex Mansky, somebody who's like a Marcos Davila, who spent a year, like as a redshirt freshman somewhere, but didn't play. Like, I don't want them to get this, like, Michigan had a quarterback like that, Jaden Davis, who entered the portal. He's a bust, but somebody like that, somebody who was like in the 2024 class or the 2025 class, who hasn't played, but was like a 4-star or something, just somebody that you've evaluated that you like, maybe like an Alex Mansky or somebody like that. The problem is that, it's hard to recruit these players, because where's their path to playing time? Like, are they going to beat out who wants to come be the third string quarterback? I know, like, I don't think it's a bad gig, but it's just a hard thing to sell to people. So, they're going to have
left Notre Dame.
Yeah. And so it's going to be, that's why, they're going to have their work cut out for them. I mean, it's probably going to have to be another guy like, Gramstad, like just a veteran who kind of wants to move up and, is willing to take some money to be a backup quarterback. And that's kind of where I'm at. But I guess I don't really understand, like, the some people. I don't know. I just, there's a weird reaction to Minchie. Some people seem really excited, and some people are like really freaking out about it, which I get. I understand. Like, he's not Sam Levitt. He's not necessarily going to take you, like, to the next level, but I do think that he is an upgrade over Lateef. So, I mean, that's the important thing to me.
And yes, we do know that they need to invest in the offensive and defensive lines. Every single post I have says, oh, we need offensive line, we need defensive line, and they're working on it. So, yeah, I mean, I think everybody saw that. Although I do think the offensive line played a little bit better on Wednesday. I did like what I saw.
Yeah, I thought there was some solid moments there for sure. And yeah, so James from YouTube again. I had a Notre Dame fan tell me he believes Minchie is a better QB than Childs. Nebraska is getting a good QB. I think so. I think their talent level is pretty similar, but yeah, if I was getting, like, out of high school Aiden Childs, like, that would be a different story. But he's just developed so many bad habits over the last couple of years. Like, I think that's too big of a reclamation project. Yeah. So yeah, Minchie, I think, has got better coaching. And I mean, Notre Dame's, I mean, they're not known for being like a quarterback school, but look at, they got, what, Riley Leonard, CJ Carr. I mean, every quarterback. Yeah, every quarterback that goes there, plays well. So I feel like, Minchie's been developed pretty well. And so, hopefully that'll be the key. Like, what do you think? What do you think about Dana Holgorsen? Because, like,
I was just going to bring that up.
The offense has not, but do you think it's a function of they don't have the players that they need. Like, because I mean, you go into this Utah game, right? And we all know, I mean, they talked about it. Like, Utah's defense is not like, they play man coverage. That's what they do. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what, come hell or high water, they're going to man coverage you. And then Rule after the game was talking about how, like, we couldn't see, we couldn't win those one-on-one matchups. And so it just got me thinking, like, is this a Holgerson problem, or is it just a problem where, like, how many plays can you call if your guys can't win one-on-one matchups? Like, is it a talent issue, or is it a scheme problem, or is it a mixture of both?
I think it's a mixture of both, because I think Rule is I personally think that Rule is, kind of controlling the offensive scheme a little bit. But I also, on that same token, it seems to me that, there's an opening drive that, runs about 5 plays, score 2 touchdowns, for example. And then once you kind of deviate from that script, or the opposing defense adjusts to it, then it seems like Holgerson gets kind of lost. And I saw that kind of on Wednesday, where, the opening quarter was great. They looked like they were firing on all cylinders, and then they just got kind of stuck. And, for as bad as this Utah run defense was, I mean, we didn't seem to run the football in key moments at times. So I think it's a mixture of both, because I think sometimes Holgerson tries to overthink things. But I also believe that, the wide receivers, they've had trouble getting separation all year. So what we saw this season, I wouldn't expect any magical, new things to happen in the bowl game that would make me think anything differently about the team aside from a win. So, I mean, the fact that there was such an outcry over the bowl game was a little bit surprising to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just for me, it was just a little bit the way that they, had a tough time competing in the game. But, it's whatever. It's like I said, it's not that big of a deal, with, like a meaningless game type of thing. But it was interesting with, you mentioned them running the ball, which I thought was one of the actual bright spots. Mekhi Nelson had 12 rushes for 88 yards, 136 total yards on 15 touches. So you look at both of those guys, Nelson and Isaiah Mosley, they touched the ball 26 times and they got 216 yards. So, I mean, in terms of the running back room, I thought that was a positive. But yeah, it is interesting that because it seems like somebody had a graphic of like the last 7 games, and Nebraska's got more points on the first 2 drives than the rest of the drives, so it seems like that is happening a lot, where, at Penn State, they came out and had a good, decent start, then couldn't get anything going. Same against Iowa. So yeah, I don't know if that's a function of, just needing more development, or, lack of talent. I'm not sure, because it does, like, the scripting part of it makes me think, like, okay, so Holgerson does, like, he's got ability to, plan some things out, but then is it like, once that plan's gone and you're back to just, like, my guys against your guy, then it seems like then we kind of struggle again. So
that's what I'm kind of wondering.
And I know, like, I get, like, other teams are maybe adjusting better, but again, like, if you can't beat man coverage, like, how many adjustments can you really make? There's only so many adjusting. If your guys can't win one-on-one, there's only so many adjustments you can make.
Yeah.
Like, if your offensive tackles can't win, you sure, you can chip and you can bring extra blockers, but then that takes away from other parts of your offense too. So I don't know. I'm not sure if it's a talent or a scheme issue, or if I do think you're right. It's a combination of both.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll get it fixed. I do think it really hindered. I think it showed, TJ's just not ready to play, and he was never expected to play this year. And so, like, I think UCLA is really bad, and that made him look better than he is. And that was really, a lot of that was Emmett Johnson. He threw a couple of screen passes to Emmett Johnson, and he, like, made incredible plays. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah, he did.
I think we got a little carried away with that one game. I still think TJ can be a good quarterback. It's just, it's hard. I mean, look at, like, Bryce Underwood's, the number 1 overall quarterback in the entire country, and he struggled this year. It's just hard. It's hard to, go through that process. So I think, he needs a year to learn. You have Minchie for 2 years, which I think would be a great time window, because I know people are super excited about Trey Taylor. I am too. You do not want Trey Taylor starting as a freshman. That is not a good situation to be in. You do not want to throw him in that. That's just like, it'd be fine if he could play a little bit, like, and Minchie can still play, and then, as a sophomore he can take over, but that's just not going to be a good situation if you have a true freshman starting quarterback.
I mean, we've done that once, and it wasn't terrible, but overall, I agree with you.
So that's another reason why I think Minchie would be perfect, because he gives you that 2-year gap of we got him this season, we got him next year. TJ, like I don't see TJ finishing his career here. Like he'll probably come here, lose the job to Minchie, and then he'll probably transfer next offseason. Like that's how I foresee it happening. And then because and it's hard to blame him, because once Trey Taylor gets here, like Trey Taylor's the heir apparent. Like TJ could sit for then he'd have 1 year to play at Nebraska, and then he would still have to beat out. Then he'd still have to beat out, redshirt freshman Trey Taylor. This would be in 2028. So it's like I don't see him waiting that long.
No.
So yeah, probably whoever loses this quarterback battle. It could be Minchie. Like maybe. I'm not saying that it's impossible.
Based off of what I saw Wednesday, I don't think Minchie is going to lose his quarterback battle. I would be very shocked.
Guys can take the leap, so who knows? Maybe Latif will make a massive leap. But
that'd be
even
nice.
So, yeah, it would be nice. So yeah, it's probably my prediction. Minchie will come here. He'll win the job. Latif will be the backup for a year. He'll play a little bit, probably play okay, and then he'll enter the transfer portal next year. Trey will come in. We'll have to get another veteran in the portal next year to kind of be the third quarterback again. That's why it would be nice to get like a guy who was from the 2025 class or something, who's like a freshman. Like even if he's a little bit lower ranked, like a 3-star, like just get somebody who just knows that they're not going to come in and start right away, and who could develop. But it's hard to find a guy who wants to be a backup. Everybody wants to play.
I'm sure players are clamoring to be the third string quarterback, but I get what you mean, though. I know
it's hard. That's tough. That's what makes it tough. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at with the transfer portal. And you did mention some of the other guys. There is a lot of guys making movements with Nebraska. I want to say, is it Brendan Black?
Yep.
Yeah, Brendan Black from Iowa State. Speaking of offensive linemen, 330 pounders, 3-year starter at right guard. So, I thought that would be a big move. I think he visited yesterday and today.
Yep.
So that'll be an interesting battle. South Carolina is the other team that's supposed to get a visit. Like I would love if they just locked down that commitment today and it's like didn't even let him get out of the building.
Yeah. And then there's Will Hawthorne, who I was mad that we missed out on as a recruit in the original process, who's coming on Sunday, I believe.
Yep. So 2025 linebacker who signed with Iowa State. So that would be, he's a player from Iowa, but would be a nice pickup. Owen Chambliss from San Diego State, the All Mountain West linebacker. He's going to visit.
I want him here now.
Yeah, 68 tackles and 4 sacks last season. It really does feel like Nebraska's the team to beat there. I know that a lot of fans wanted, I think his name is Trey White, San Diego State pass rusher, but sounds like he's going to go to Texas Tech. So unfortunately, we're not going to get all of the San Diego State guys, with the Rob Orich connection. But I do think Chambliss would be a great fit. And he's kind of an interesting guy that he's more of a traditional linebacker, but he had 4 sacks last year. So he can do a few more things. Then another San Diego State guy, safety, Dale Sean Staley, 76 tackles last year, 136 over the past 2 seasons. He's also visiting Missouri. So those are a few guys kind of on the radar. And then also another one, which I think is kind of interesting, Bryce Anderson from Texas A&M, a former top 100 recruit, really interesting guy, 6 foot. I think he can, play some slot. He can play some safety, 117 career tackles, 6 pass breakups, 2 interceptions. He's not visiting yet. But Nebraska is one of the teams that they're in contact with.
Yeah.
Who are your D-line picks in terms of thanks you for the question, Adam. Do you mean like from the transfer portal? I'm assuming that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm not, to be quite honest with you, I haven't really seen a ton of defensive linemen where I'm like, okay, let's go grab him. I'm kind of looking a lot, and I know he's not necessarily a transportal guy, but I'm watching the Dylan Berryman recruitment closely because it sounds like we are in a very good position. It's us in Kentucky, and it sounds like we're in a good spot. I don't know if we'll end up landing him, but I'm watching that one close.
There's a couple of defensive linemen that they've been in the mix for, at least mentioned for. One, his name is Ezra Christensen. He's from New Mexico State. So he is one of the top players in the portal, 6'2", 280. He's got 1 season of eligibility left. from the I think they're in the Conference USA. They're in Conference USA. So he was he was the top 10 in pass rush win rate among interior defensive linemen. So he had 11 tackles for loss and 6 sacks. So he's one of the top defensive linemen available. They've been connected with him. Another guy that they've been mentioned with, trying to find his name here. He's from Kansas State. Malcolm Alcorn Crowder is his name. He was a former JUCO, 6'6", 305. He's decent pass rusher, kind of more of a run stopper. But those are the two guys that I've seen. Yeah, those are the two guys that I've seen mentioned. I think there was a Notre Dame defensive lineman they've been in contact with too. That hasn't played a ton. I'm blanking on his name, but the Ezra Christensen I think would be good. And I have to say I thought that Riley Van Poppel played really well in that Las Vegas bowl game. I mean, I noticed just his, he had he batted down a pass. I saw him in the backfield a few times. Yeah. So, I thought he played better. I do think that the scheme is going to fit the defensive tackles better. I don't know how that's going to, I do think that they need some, and Christensen would be a great fit. But yeah, it's a tough position because everybody needs him, like there was another guy from Michigan that just entered and no Etta, like that would be a guy to make a run at, with some Big Ten experience. Like there's not very many, like I can't think of very many guys that like played in the Big Ten who are in the portal right now. So our guy, Andrew Sprague, did enter the transfer portal that we were talking about, but he's got a do not contact tag. So he's either going to Missouri or Texas. So unfortunately we won't be adding him on the offensive line, but
that's a bummer because I really liked him.
Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting. He didn't play in the Citrus Bowl, and their team they were playing was Texas. So I don't know. He either has a deal with Texas or Missouri. Probably he's from Missouri, so I'm guessing he's going to stay home in Missouri. So
I want Malachi Breland. I would love Malachi Breland, 6'5", 340, Memphis offensive lineman, sophomore. To me, I kind of like looked at some of his highlights and stuff, and he's just a very solid offensive lineman. So I would love Malachi Breland.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see some of the, if they could get any of the guys from South Carolina or from Georgia Tech. I know there's a bunch of, interesting guys there in the portal. There's another defensive tackle from like Wake Forest. His name is super weird. Not weird, but Mateen Ibrigobajba. I have no idea. But anyways, he's another guy to watch. Xavier Gillum from Penn State, 6'2", 300 pounds. Ian Geffard from Arkansas is another one, 6'5", 387 pounds. Like, talk about a run stuffer. Like, definitely could use somebody like that. So yeah, I don't know. There hasn't been as much traction on that front. John Walker from UCF would be another guy. Maybe they could steal him away from Scott Frost. He's in the portal. So I don't know. I think some more guys will emerge, but they definitely need some reinforcements on both lines. That would be, quarterback. I think you need a quarterback, obviously. You need a running back, and then O-line and D-line. That would be my focus in the transfer portal.
For sure. And, I'm just looking over the transfer portal names here, and I think Amaris Williams could be a player that would help Nebraska at the edge. I think I saw Reed Harris was in there. So, I mean, there's just a bunch of athletes. We'll see what Nebraska can do. But I think I can confidently say that the roster that we saw in the Las Vegas Bowl will not be the roster that takes the field next season. And I get the bowl game was frustrating, but I don't think that's what we're going to see. Hopefully next season. I'm still waiting on a defensive line coach, but we'll see.
Yeah, they need to. It's kind of surprising they haven't got that done yet. So from Greg Biggins of On3 now, used to be of 24/7 Sports, now On3. He was on the Husker Online message board last night. Just was doing some digging. So here's what he said about Owen Chambliss. He'll be on campus this weekend, and he talked to someone close to his recruitment. The sense was this could be a one and done, as in like one visit and this recruitment is over. So assuming this visit goes well, Nebraska might have a commitment from Owen Chambliss by the end of the weekend. So that would be.
I heard he was already looking at houses. So there you go.
Yeah. So I mean, he would be a really nice get. And they've lost they lost Javin Wright and some other linebackers to just to graduation. So yeah, that would be a big time get. 6'3", 230 pounds, and he's only a sophomore, so he would have 2 more years left to go. 109 total tackles this year, 68 solos, 5 passes defense, 4 sacks, an interception. So really a guy who can kind of do it all. Would be a great fit for the interior of our defense.
Absolutely, I love him, and I feel like you're bringing in a guy with some familiarity and some familiarity to the coach. And I know I'm going against everything I've said for the past maybe year and a half, but I'll say it anyway. When you look at what Curt Cignetti did, he brought in a lot of players that had familiarity, and I think familiarity with the coach, especially in the transfer portal era, is important. And I don't think we've done that enough necessarily. Granted, we haven't had many coaches apparently that have enough talent that we want to bring over. But I think when you look at this defense, I think familiarity, especially with Roy Manning coaching the edges as well, I think that could really help.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the downsides, I guess, of getting your coach from the NFL is you don't get to bring, the roster with you. Because you look at Matt Campbell at Penn State, and he's bringing half his team with him. He's going to bring Brahmer. He's going to bring some defensive backs. He's going to bring his quarterback. So it's like not only are you that's kind of like the deal now is not only are you getting the coach, but you're going to get some players too. And that's honestly that's like with Rob Orich. It's like, okay, you're coming in as defensive coordinator. Who you bringing with you? You know what I mean? And so like I'm not saying that was part of the conversation, but probably was. I mean,
Yeah, it was
probably like who's on this roster you can take, and that's. Like you look at Kyle Whittingham to Michigan, he's going to bring some Utah guys. That's just what you do. I mean, so you have roster. So Nebraska, missed out on that a little bit because they got Matt Rule from the NFL. So that's one area where like he was at a disadvantage compared to like a Curt Cignetti, and we'll see how Cignetti does next year without his guys. Like,
I'm very interested to see what happens.
I think he's still going to be fine because I think his superpower is talent evaluation. So we'll see. But I mean, not many people thought Mendoza was probably going to win the Heisman Trophy, and here he is. It's crazy. So, and then man, it's just so funny though. It's so funny to me because it's like you had all these people, being like, oh, every team that gets a first round bye loses, and that's the problem. No, it's not. Indiana blew the crap out of Alabama, 38-3. So it's like, no, your team just wasn't good enough. That it wasn't the fact that you didn't play because Indiana blew that narrative out of the water. And so I don't know. Curt Cignetti's just really good at, he's really good at blowing narratives out of the water. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But frankly, I'm cheering for those guys. Like I want the Big Ten to win another national championship now that it won't be Ohio State. And it just would be fun to see Indiana beat all these teams that they're never supposed to beat.
I'm excited for Miami Ole Miss next Thursday because man, Ole Miss is they're really impressive, and I'm so happy for Pete Golding and that group because I hate Georgia fans and I hate Georgia. And man, the game they played was very, very impressive. I thought Shameless was great. I thought Kawan Lacey was great, and I made me wonder, like, damn, I wish he could have kept him, but I don't think he would have had the same level of success at Nebraska that he had at Ole Miss. So I think he made the right choice. It's just, one of those what could have beens. But I thought Ole Miss played really well against Georgia, and I'm happy to see the Bulldogs go down.
Yeah, it's really interesting how it's like Ole Miss is doing the 1989 Michigan, where the Michigan's coach went to Arizona State and they won the championship with the interim head coach. So I mean, they could very easily do it. That Miami game is going to be a battle, and it was really fun to watch Miami beat Ohio State, the way that they did. And it's just, it's the same it's clear the kind of team that you need to beat Ohio State. If you're strong in the trenches and you can run the ball and hit their quarterback, like they're not unbeatable. And that's a tale as old as time though, in football. That's the New England Patriots of, 2007. Like if you can hit the quarterback, you can run the ball, you can control the line of scrimmage. It doesn't matter if you got Randy Moss or Jeremiah Smith out there. You know what I mean? That's what this Ohio State team reminds me of, is that Patriots team. And, they got their butts kicked in the trenches, so it didn't matter. And
I also thought the play calling was pretty bad for a former offensive coordinator in Ryan Day. I don't think they ran the ball enough, and they kind of abandoned it in favor of letting Sand throw the ball, and that played right into Miami's hands. Like you said, weak offensive line for the Buckeyes, and a fantastic Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor. You're not stopping those guys. So, I mean, I just thought that Ryan Day called a bad game, but at the same time, shout out to Corey Heatherman and that group. And Heatherman, once a Minnesota coach, is proving his worth at the big time level and getting national respect. So it's awesome to see there.
Yeah, and it'll be fun to see, a new champion. The most recent champion in this group was Miami back in 2001 when they beat Nebraska for the national title. So whoever wins this thing, it's going to be the first national champion the first championship they've had, excuse me, in 25 years. So Indiana and Oregon have never won a national championship. Ole Miss won one in like 1962. So really, like none of these teams has ever sniffed a championship in the modern era of college football since we went to like the BCS or whatever. So it's going to be a fun playoff. I am more invested this year with it. I think getting the bracket right. They messed that up so much last year, and that screwed up the quarterfinals. This is what it should have looked like. And so I'll give the college football playoff people credit for at least fixing that and making year 2 better. Now, hopefully, I'm sure there'll be some more changes and adjustments, but I think how they've got it so far. I mean, the timing part of it can be fixed, but because I mean that's the thing too with Ole Miss. Now you've got all these Ole Miss guys like some of these coaches might not coach for the next game. It's like, come on, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
And we're setting this up. Like, how good is it for players when you're competing for a national championship? You're one win from the national championship game, and you don't know if your coaches are going to be there. Like, how stupid is this system? We've got to get this fixed. And
yeah, not even scheme wise, just you've been rolling with these guys and you've been through a lot together as a group, and you want to share this moment with them, and they're not going to be there. And that's why whenever fans bitch about player loyalty, I'm just like, hey, it goes both ways. It's not a one-way street. This is a terrible business model for everybody.
Yeah, and they what they need to do is make the offseason after the season, and that's the only way this is ever going to work. And then you won't have teams coaching, like coaches getting poached so early because they're trying to get their rosters ready. Like Nick Saban had a pretty good idea of the portal should be in the spring, and you should have your spring practice after the portal, and it should be like in April or May, because that does make sense, because then you can actually enroll in the fall calendar instead of having this mid-year thing. Like, just let the kids finish school. Don't have spring ball until, don't just get rid of spring ball. Get rid of it altogether, and then have spring. So basically his idea is that spring practice or summer practice would be like May and June, which is what like high school football teams do now.
Yeah,
so just extend your winter workouts, do your conditioning and all that. Then when you get your team, after the transfer portal's done, you go out, and then go from there. I think that would be something like that needs to happen, because this current system is just stupid. Like nobody can look at this calendar and say it's not dumb. It makes zero sense. So fix it. I don't understand why it's so hard to fix these things.
Starting with the national championship game being on the 19th. I mean, we're almost into February at that point. And then what, 2 weeks later, it's like official signing day, or the normal signing day, whatever you want to call it, national signing day. I mean, because it even seems like the national signing day, I mean, that all takes place in December now. It's no longer early. It seems more like the regular time to go,
Yeah, so that needs to get fixed. Hopefully, it does, but there's nobody to really make the call. It's just kind of like, it's all to these conference commissioners and all that. So who knows, man? Who knows what's going to happen with that? But it's going to be a fun, I think, playoff, and it'll be a fun couple of weeks here for Nebraska football. So
best weeks of the entire season for Nebraska football are these weeks right here. So
off-season champs, baby, off-season champs. So we'll see if we get another one. But yeah, we'll start wrapping it up here. If you've got any other questions or comments, go ahead and throw them in the chat, everybody.
37 live viewers. Thank you for tuning in and watching us. You must not have a lot to do to start off your weekend, but that's okay. That's why we're here. I'm excited about basketball. I guess I'll sum up my takeaways from today. I'm excited about basketball, both teams. I'm hopeful for football, but I want to see, lots of moves. You can't just sit and be idle. And judging by these visit lists, I don't think they are. And then, I'm just hopeful for football, excited for basketball. I don't think you're gonna fire Matt Rule, and honestly, I think firing him like now would just reset the cycle again. And Lord knows we're experienced at paying buyouts, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah, and he's whatever you think of Matt Rule, he's not going anywhere for 3 or 4 years probably. So hopefully,
Go Big Red.
Get some. Hopefully, can get some more talent in here, and hopefully, Kenny Minchie will be the guy, the dual threat quarterback that we've been looking for. I do have a lot of hope for him. I think he's got a lot of talent. So let's not write him off before he even starts a game. Let's see what he actually can do on the field.
I know that's tough for a lot of you, but let's give him a shot first.
Yeah, let's try. That's just a novel concept. Let's see what he can do before we start criticizing him.
And yes, I'm sure they all know that they need to build the trenches, but a lot of times quarterbacks and stuff are easier to get. Skill players are easier to get. So that's why you will see a lot of these positions addressed first. Because as we found out last year, offensive line, whether it be recruiting or portal or, in general, is hard to get because everybody needs them and everybody wants them.
Yeah, and so I think they're doing a good job. I mean, it's kind of slim pickings on the D line right now, so hopefully some more guys jump in there. But I think I'm confident that they'll get some solid work done. So
we'll be get a coach, man. I just want to coach.
Yeah, get the D line coach done. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that works out. So we'll be back, you guys, on Monday. We'll wrap up everything that's happened this weekend. So if you haven't already, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.